What is up? Welcome back to Debunking Fitness by Kay. I am your host. My name is Kirsten. You can call me Kay. You can call me Kirsten, whatever you want to call me. Just call me whatever. But yeah, so if you notice my audio quality is so much better, my video quality is so much better, and I'm gonna stick with the method that I'm using, which is quite literally recording it on my phone, hooking up this mic to my phone, and going from there. So hello, welcome. Okay, so I don't really have any real announcements this week other than my free coaching giveaway is still going on. So by the time this episode is released, there will be 5 days left to apply. And if you're like, Kirsten, where do I apply? Go to my YouTube page, which is where this is at, or go to my Instagram page. And it is the link in my bio. You just click on the link in my bio and you can apply to win 3 free months of coaching by me, yours truly, Kirsten. I will be your coach. I am a personal trainer. I'm an athletic trainer. I'm a nutrition coach. And I help people get in shape, get the bodies that they love, have the body recomp, gain the muscle mass, gain the muscle definition, look gorgeous. And the whole shtick with my giveaway is all around getting your beach bod, getting that beautiful body for the summer so that you feel confident, you look gorgeous, you feel amazing. That is the goal. So if that's something that you want to do and you have tried to figure it out on your own and you just like fall off the bandwagon almost every single time, sounds like you could use a little extra help. That's where I come into play. So if you want a little bit of extra help, go to the link in my bio on YouTube or go to the link in my bio on Instagram at Performance by K. That's it. Short and sweet. At Performance by K. Click on it and apply. You've got 5 more days, and then I'm drawing a winner on March 16th. So if you're watching this past March 16th, I'm so sorry you missed out. So don't miss out. Apply. It's great. Anyway, today, this episode is all about, can you actually turn fat into muscle? Let's talk about that. Let's get into it. So, I am not sure if you've ever heard anybody say, I work out just to turn my fat into muscle. I'm just doing this so I can turn all of my fat into muscle. What if I told you, excuse me, what if I told you that's not how that works? What if I told you that you can't just turn fat into muscle? Instead, there's something called body recomposition. And we will get all into the nitty gritty of this myth, the science behind fat loss, the science behind muscle gain, and how to actually change your body composition in a healthy way. And what actually makes sense. Because it is possible, but your fat muscle or your fat cells don't just turn into muscle cells. That's a lie. That's not true. Anyway, so let's go about this. So if you were to think that, sorry, I have notes on my computer, so I'm just scrolling with my hand right here. If you were to think that fat cells literally turn into muscle cells, what you're basically saying is that everywhere there is a fat cell in your body, you can just turn that into straight muscle. What that is neglecting is muscular form, muscular structure. What else? I'm like really yawny this episode. Oh no. So sorry. I didn't get the best sleep last night. I'll be very honest about that. That's fine. Anyway, what you're negating there whenever you're saying that you can just turn your fat into muscle is you're neglecting to acknowledge the composition of the fat cells and the muscle cells, how muscle is structured, how fat is structured, where fat resides, where muscle resides, all that kind of stuff. So physiologically, it makes no sense. Physiologically, they are two different structures completely. They are completely different. A muscle fiber is built out of actin and myosin, all just a bunch of protein structures that all work together that get activated by calcium and sodium and released by potassium, whatever, okay? Actually, I think I got some of those backwards, but you use electrolytes to work your muscles, whereas fat cells, they kind of deposit wherever your body says they want to be deposited. They reside on top of the muscle structure, underneath of the skin. They also, fat cells can also reside within the organs. So you have something called like your visceral fat, and then you also have like your adipose fat, which is the skin level fat, and then the fat within your all around your organs and that kind of stuff. So there's two different areas where fat is. They're not coinciding with each other within your muscle structure. Your muscle structure is your muscle structure, and the fat that you are looking to lose resides on top of the muscle structure, not intertwined with it. And then fat cells are mostly made out of triglycerides, which is free fatty acids mixed with glycerin, or it's like a glucose basically. And so they kind of reside together within your body. And they are like the purest form of stored energy. But it is the energy that is not super quick to break down. It is also not very logical for it to break down. So that's why your body holds on to it so much, because it converts everything that you've eaten throughout the day that's a little too much. Here comes another yawn. Oh my God. Okay. It creates, or it takes everything that you've eaten throughout the day in excess, and will convert it into those fat cells, those triglycerides, and store it in the body. A lot of the time it can be stored in the liver. That's mostly where your glucose resides. But once that storage is full, then it starts turning it into fat cells and storing it wherever the body feels like it makes sense. People carry weight in so many different ways. People carry weight in their face, they carry weight in their hips, they carry weight in their arms, they carry weight wherever, okay? And so whenever you do lose fat, though, you still have the fat cells present. They just shrink in size. Because your body needs fat to survive. Your body needs to have a certain level of fat in it to survive. So they do not ever go away. They just shrink in size. But they do not magically turn into muscle fibers, because, like we said earlier, they are two different structures. They made up two different things. They're in two different parts of the body. They are not coincide or co-aligned, or they're not cohesive. They're not combined together. They're not synonymous. They're not one reaction away from turning from fat to muscle, or vice versa. Okay. And so what really happens whenever you build muscle and lose fat is strength training. Strength training is what's going to actually build the muscle. And whenever you do that, it does not burn the fat directly. Okay, so why do people say to strength train? Why is everybody saying strength training is important? Strength training is important because your muscles do not grow in size unless they are being challenged. They have no reason to. If they can move your body in all of your normal functions, then that's all your muscles are going to do. But whenever you challenge them and put them under different stresses and different levels of resistance or weight or whatever you want to say, that's whenever they start to grow in size, because the demand on the muscles is so much larger. And so they adapt and react and will grow in size and put down more muscle through protein, not through fat. Fat is an energy source. And while there is some truth to turning fat into muscle, aka you're taking the energy from fat and using it to help you create muscle with just the energy, because it does take energy to create something. That's like physics, okay? We all know that. But truthfully, fat cells into muscle cells does not work, okay? That's kind of where we're at. All right. And so whenever you are looking to build muscle, and sorry, there's like a thing on my lip. It's bugging me. Okay. I just need to put on chapstick. That's all I gotta do. Okay. But whenever you are burning fat, and by burning fat, it's not literally taking a lighter and going and then having it catch on fire. It's not what it means. Basically, it's just getting used and it's getting catalyzed and it's getting taken up. But we don't burn fat unless our body feels like it needs to burn it. And that's where your idea of calorie deficit comes into play. So whenever you are eating a normal diet, you are providing your body with the energy it needs to do all of its normal functions. And what I mean by normal diet is you are eating the amount in calories of what your body puts out. So calories is another word for energy. We use that in science all the time. A calorie is a measure of energy, specifically heat. That's why it's called a calorie. I guess technically they're called kilocalories. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, and because calor means hot. There it is. I was looking for the reason. I was like, I know it's called heat. It means heat for a reason. Calor is, I think that means hot. I don't know. Don't quote me on this. But actually, no, quote me on it. Hold me accountable. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I got it wrong. I really want to know. Okay. Because I want to learn. Anyway, and so whenever we eat the amount of calories that our body burns in a day, so by living, by breathing, by your heart beating, by talking, by swallowing, by blinking, that all burns calories because they're all muscle movements. Your muscle moves your whole body, okay? So you're constantly burning calories just by being alive. And whenever you eat the amount of calories that your body burns, your body stays neutral, okay? There is no change in your body. There is no body composition happening for the most part. Maybe slightly, but not on a level that you would see, okay? But whenever you are specifically looking for fat loss, oh my gosh. I'm going to drive you guys crazy by my yawning this whole episode. Only 12 minutes in. Okay. But whenever you, what am I trying to say? Oh, whenever you eat a little bit less than what your body demands and what it needs, your body starts to pull from the sources that it does not have readily available, which is your fat storage, because you are not giving your body enough for it to satisfy its daily caloric quota, and it needs to pull the energy from somewhere, and so it pulls it from fat. When you are doing strength training, you are increasing your muscle size, your muscle recruitment, therefore building muscle, and the more muscle you build, the more energy is required for your muscle to work and to be maintained. And so sometimes with just strength training alone and not being in a deficit, you can have body recomposition because your body is demanding more calories. And if you're eating exactly the same, no more, no less, then you will naturally create a calorie deficit and have that body recomposition where your body is saying, oh my gosh, we need more nutrients. We need more energy. You didn't feed us enough. We got to get it from somewhere. And that's where the fat burning comes into play. I run air quotes, burning with air quotes. The fat usage, I would say. So yeah, that's what really happens. And so body recomposition, whenever you hear somebody say that, oh my gosh, whenever you hear somebody comment, okay, listen, wait, pause. If you've yawned during this episode because I've yawned, comment that. Let me know. I'm curious if I've affected anybody. Anyway, okay, so body recomposition. When somebody says body recomposition, what do they mean? What does that actually mean? And body recomposition means that you are losing fat and gaining muscle at the same time. So you are changing the composition of your body. You're recomping, okay? You are taking the muscle levels in your body and increasing them, and taking the fat levels in your body and decreasing them. You are changing what your body is made out of. And so sometimes whenever you're going through a body recomposition, you may feel super discouraged if you are like, I just want to burn fat, but I've heard that I need to do strength training in order to burn fat, and this is really frustrating and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, because the scale's not changing. Okay, that right there does not mean negative things. If the scale is not changing, I would say that that is a positive sign. If you are doing all of the right things, if you are in a calorie deficit, if you are strength training, if you are trying your best and staying consistent with all of that, if your scale is not changing, that is a good sign, because your body is putting on muscle. Whenever you use it more, it puts on more. And then if you are in a calorie deficit, your body is automatically burning fat. And so when you are in that mode, but you're not seeing the scale change, that is a good sign, because your body is changing. But what you're not seeing is the levels of like muscle versus fat and how they're changing, because muscle is denser than fat. Yes, that is right. Muscle is denser than fat. Muscle weighs more than fat. I'm sure you've heard that. I'm sure you've seen the diagrams of the people with the 2.5 pound thing of fat and the 2.5 pound thing of muscle, and look how different they are in size, but they're both 2.5 pounds. That is incredibly correct. So when your scale is not changing, you're most likely gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time. And so it's not showing that change, but those levels are changing. Body composition does not show on a scale, because a scale just shows, for scientific purposes, it shows your normal force. It shows the amount that the scale is pushing up to equalize how much gravity is pushing your body down. How much you weigh is neutralized by how much the scale needs to push up to combat your changes, or the amount that it's like being pushed down, or whatever. I don't know how a scale is created, but then it gives you that number in pounds, which is a measure of force. And so just because your body is pushing down at the same level doesn't mean, oh my gosh, it doesn't mean you're not making a change. I can't tell you how many times I've been this sleepy during an episode, and sometimes I don't post it because I just yawn way too much. I'm like, I need to do this on another day, but we're pushing through. I'm doing it because I'm finally on time for once, and I'm making this episode early. I think that's crazy. Anyway, all right. So moving forward, who can do body recomp? Who can do it effectively? Who can undergo this and change the composition of their body? Anybody with a solid plan. Okay, you got a plan and you follow it to a T consistently, then you can create body recomposition. Body recomposition does not happen in a day. Body recomposition does not happen a week. Body recomposition doesn't happen overnight, okay? People who can do it effectively, and often those who see the quickest results, are the ones who are beginners, or the ones who are untrained. And specifically those with a solid plan. If you know exactly what you're doing and you are on T with the calorie deficit, with your training, and you are like, I am serious about this, I want to make a change, then you will see that result, and you will see body recomp very quickly, very effectively. And the key factors to make sure body recomposition actually happens in your body, like we talked about earlier, is strength training, maintaining a calorie balance, specifically a calorie deficit. And what a calorie deficit looks like is 300 to 500 calories, no more. No, you can do a little less, but no more than that. No more than 500 calories. If you do more than 500 calories, what your normal is, off of what your normal is, then you risk the chances of doing more harm to your body than good. So what that looks like in numbers, I need 1,800 calories to maintain everything I've got going on, to live the life that I live, to to maintain all of my muscle and my activities, whatever. Okay, I'm a pretty small person. I only weigh 130 pounds, give or take. And I am 5'3". So I'm a pretty small person. I work from home. I don't do a ton of movement. I'm not on my feet all day. I do very moderate movement. But whenever I do movement, it's like my working out and my rock climbing and my snowboarding in the wintertime, my yoga, whatever. I have a lot of activities that I like to do. So on the days that I'm doing them, and even on the days that I'm not, it's usually about the same. 17 to 1800 calories is how much I typically burn in a day. Because of my height, my stature, whatever. And so if I were to go into a calorie deficit, and I wanted to lose body fat, which I don't have a ton of body fat, but there is always room for improvement and I can always do this. I would aim for about 1,500 calories. I would say around 1,400 to 1,500, somewhere in that range. That gives me about a 300 calorie deficit. And I personally don't go more than that because I know my basal metabolic rate, which is everything I need to, everything that I burn outside of my daily activities, is around 1,450 calories. And so I don't want to go any less than that, just because I don't want to run the risk of damaging my organ system, my heart system, my brain system, everything that keeps me alive and keeps me happy and healthy and working. I don't want to damage that or kind of mess with that. So I never go more than a 300 calorie deficit if I were to do that. Now, take that and know that most individuals are very different than that. Most individuals require potentially a lot more calories than I do. My body does not require a ton of calories because I'm just small. So taking into account that some people may require 3,000 calories in a day. My partner is like that. He is 150 pounds, and he is 5'10", I believe. If you're watching this, okay, I'm so sorry if I got that wrong. I don't think he watches this, though. I asked him about it yesterday. He was like, no. That's fine. Anyway, but given his activity levels, his gender, his height, his weight, all that stuff, he needs about 3,000 calories more than me. And he and I are not super different. If you look at us side by side, we are not super different. And he needs about double the amount of calories that I need in a day. So his deficit looks a lot, if he wanted to lose weight, which I know he doesn't, he wants to gain muscle mass, so he's always in a surplus. But if he wanted to lose weight, he would be okay with doing the 500 calorie deficit because his body is trying to maintain so much more. And his basal metabolic rate, I believe, is like 1,800. And that's just what he needs to be alive. So a lot of that stuff comes from activities, his gender, what he does for work, all that stuff. He's burning a lot of calories in his day. If he were to be sedentary in a day, he probably only burn like 2,100 calories. Maybe even like 2,000. So, honestly, maybe even like 1,900. I don't know. We'll have to ask him. But he would never go more than 500, just because you don't need to, and you also kind of risk a lot of like life happiness if you just cut out all your food from your life, and that makes you happy, because we as humans find a lot of pleasure in food, and we should be able to eat the food that we like and still get the goals or still get the results that we're looking for. But anyway, so those are some examples for you of like what a calorie deficit would look like. And then the last thing that you need for body recomposition, long whirlwind, we said strength training, a calorie deficit, or just balance of maintenance, whatever your body needs. And then the last thing is a protein intake. So protein. You hear this a million times. It is true. You do need protein. Protein is what helps build a lot of things in your body. There are some people, I have seen this before, and it kind of makes me a little irritated whenever someone's like, oh, you only need 0.8 grams of protein in your day. That's what the USDA says to live. So like anyone who's telling you they need to have 150 grams of protein in a day is just lying to you. That is if you have zero goals in mind and you are just trying to live. The USDA guidelines are guidelines, first of all. They specifically in protein, 0.8 kilograms or grams per kilogram. That's what that means. So for every kilogram you weigh, you would have 0.8 grams of protein, and that is sufficient. So for example, I weigh 60 kilograms, give or take. If I were to have 0.8 grams of protein for every kilogram I weigh, that is, what's quick math? I don't even know. Let's just say 80% of 60 is 48. Okay. I would have 48 grams of protein in a day, and that is sufficient. Yes, maybe sufficient for just living and helping your body run all of its systems that it needs, that it runs through protein. Sure, yeah. But if you have goals in your mind and you are looking to lose body fat, you need to have more. You just do. Because it is incredibly difficult to burn body fat when you are not working out, when you're not working out, when you're not gaining muscle in any way, shape, or form. And honestly, whenever you have such like little amount of protein that like, I think just specifically, it's really hard to lose weight if you're not working out. The weight that you would lose is a combination of everything. You would lose body fat, you would lose muscle mass, you would lose, you would lose both. So really, I mean, like, yeah, if you just want to lose weight, that's great. But if you want to actually do body recomposition and love the way you look, as opposed to just looking skinny, you want to look fit, the higher amount of protein is incredibly important. And what that looks like specifically for people who are strength training, that looks to be about 1.5 to 2 grams per kilogram of how much you weigh. So I would be looking at probably 120 grams of protein every single day. And you could always do more. That is very, very true. But that is kind of what we're looking for with body recomposition, is that increase in protein, because that increase in protein is going to help you build more muscle mass and increase your metabolism and help you be a little bit more in a deficit more easily and still enjoy your food and enjoy your life and enjoy all the good things in the world. Anyway, so let's talk about a little bit more about how to actually lose fat and to build muscle. So we've talked about that you need to strength train. We've talked about that you need to have a calorie deficit. And we've talked a little bit, we've talked about this pretty in depth, but we'll cover it a little bit more. So strength training is the key. You have to do that for muscle growth. That's the first thing. Muscle growth will increase your metabolism because you have so much more that to your body that requires energy. When you are not feeding those muscles, they will disappear. They will be eaten up by your body and used for energy. Your body uses fat as energy as a last resort. Okay, that's why you hold on to it so much. That's why people everywhere are like, I just want to lose fat. I want to lose fat. I want to lose fat. It's hard to lose it because that's the last thing your body wants to lose. And so making sure that you are strength training will help keep your muscle mass up because you're showing your body that you are using it, you need it, and it'll also increase that metabolism because you require so much more energy to feed your muscles. Secondly is nutrition. Nutrition is incredibly important to make sure that you are actually like hitting the goals that you are aiming to hit. So for example, keep being mindful of eating your protein, like we talked about earlier, is really, really important. And then also making sure that you're eating enough fat to help with your hormones, and then supplementing the rest with your carbohydrates. So building out your macros to your a lot of calorie needs will help you to lose fat and build muscle instead. Cardio, number 3, cardio is an important one to also keep in mind when you're trying to grow muscle, because cardio, specifically excessive cardio, a small amount of cardio is really good for you, but excessive cardio, like going on hour-long runs every single day or whatever, it can actually hinder your muscle growth because you are building different muscle whenever you are doing more cardio. And also your body is, well, I guess you're not building muscle, you're training different muscle. You're training different muscle whenever you're doing cardio. You're training your endurance cardio, or your endurance muscle, as opposed to your, oh my gosh, I'm having a lot of technical difficulties. You're training your endurance muscle fibers over your strength muscle fibers, which are not inclined to grow or to increase in size as much. They also are much smaller than your strength training muscle fibers. So it can decrease that muscle growth because they are different muscle fibers. Your body also tends to pull from muscle and tends to stop burning fat too whenever you are doing intense cardio as well, because it is pulling from your it's what is it? You're in like a higher heart rate level, so you're doing more oxidative energy creation that is I want to say it doesn't burn as much fat. I want to say that. It still does burn fat because oxidative energy creation, which is basically your body using the oxygen that you're taking in to help convert your body's storage of energy into usable energy. So using, burning your fat cells and your glucose cells in your liver over to energy, and going through that and doing like conversion. I believe it does more liver storage than it does fat, but I believe it does both. But it's not as much fat as it would be with muscle training and muscle growth. Number 4, how to actually lose fat and build muscle is doing progressive overload. We kind of talked about this a little bit, which is just challenging your body, challenging your muscles to help them to grow. Whenever your body and your muscles are placed under extreme force or demand, it requires your body to create more of them and to also increase the recruitment of them. So sometimes you may have the fibers, they're just not being recruited. They're a little untrained muscle. And so they will start recruiting more muscle fibers the more you challenge them. And then number 5, sleep and recovery. Rest is just as important as your workouts. And that's why you need to have good rest days, good sleep days to help recover all of your muscle. And to also, it will also boost your metabolism as well whenever you are getting enough sleep, because your body doesn't have to work as hard to maintain like a homeostasis within your organs and your body that way. It can kind of put all of that energy towards your muscles, and recovery will also help you to work out more effectively because your body has taken the time that it needs to repair all the muscles that have been worked out from the last time you work out, and able to be a little bit more efficient in that way. So for example, tomorrow is going to be my rest day. I just decided that because I'm working all day tomorrow and I don't have time to work out. So I'm going to try to work out after this, just so do something small in the house. And then tomorrow will be my rest day. And then last but not least, consistency and patience. Being patient with the process. It is a process. It did not take you 2 days to gain as much fat and to have your body look the way it looks. It takes time, just like it takes time to reverse that. So being patient and also being consistent with everything, and that's what's going to get you results. It is a slow process. It's a painfully slow process, but it is a process and it works. And that is the most sustainable and healthy way for it to work. So let's talk about some Q&A, common myths, common mistakes whenever it comes to this stuff. We've talked about this before. Spot reducing fat is not a thing. You cannot spot reduce fat. Your body takes fat just like it stores fat in whatever way it wants. It takes fat in whatever way it wants. So if you are wanting to lose belly fat, but that is your body's first place that it places fat and the last place it's going to take from, there's no way you're going to spot reduce belly fat. What you're going to do is you're going to have to decrease the entirety of fat all over your body, and eventually it'll start taking away from your stomach. But it's going to take away from the places that it stored fat last, the one where it's least inclined to store it. So, for example, most people, their belly is the most stubborn spot for your body to burn fat. That is on me. My belly fat, and I don't have a lot of belly fat, but I do have belly fat, and it is like the most stubborn area. I can get toned and look fit everywhere else, but the belly is always the last to go because that's where the body places the fat on me first. And so sometimes people are vice versa. Sometimes you see people with really skinny, flat stomachs, but their legs are massive. And that's mostly from muscle. I'm going to tell you that. They have a lot of freaking muscle. But sometimes their body stores fat in their hips. And that's where their body chooses to store it. But their belly, super flat. I'm sure you've seen people. I'm sure maybe you are someone like that. Everybody is made different. And I think that's so cool. Do you need supplements? Another question. Do you need supplements to burn body fat? Yes and no. Protein powder is helpful. Creatine is helpful. Anything outside of that? It doesn't really work. So those fat burning supplements, they're just garbage you're putting into your body. That doesn't really work. Caffeine might be a helpful thing if you want to have caffeine. That one kind of takes a consistent supplementation of about 200 to 300 milligrams a day for it to really do something good for your body. But outside of that, it's really not going to do too much. But protein powder is really good because it'll help supplement that protein income that you need. And then creatine is also amazing because that's part of your energy systems, like we talked about earlier, where creatine, it's called the phosphocreatine system, and it's a way that your body creates energy. And so whenever you have more creatine in your system, you have more energy readily available, and your muscles are able to heal a lot faster and to recover a lot faster. You're also able to build lean muscle a lot quicker whenever you have creatine in your system. I take creatine. I'm going to take creatine after this. And then can you lose fat and gain muscle at any age is the last question that I have for you. And the answer is yes. You absolutely can. You can change your body at any time that you want to. It does get harder with age, I will tell you that. But if you are one of those untrained individuals or you're a beginner at all of this, you've never done this before, you tend to lose it a little bit quicker, even if you are older. But with age, things tend to slow down, and it does take a little bit longer, but it is absolutely possible. It absolutely is possible. So key takeaways from this episode: fat does not turn into muscle. They're two different things, but you can lose fat and gain muscle at the same time, and that's what body recomposition is. Strength training plus protein plus consistency is going to give you the best results whenever it comes to losing fat. It's the things that you don't want to do because you don't want to put in the work to do it, and that's why they're the hardest to do, but the most effective. It's the things that you know you need to do that you just don't want to do. And scale weight is not everything. Everything that you are seeing on the scale is just a flat number of what gravity is saying. It does not tell you anything about what's going on in your body. It doesn't tell you your muscle mass. It doesn't tell you your water. It doesn't tell you your fat content or whatever. It doesn't tell you any of that. So focus on progress photos, focus on your strength gains, and focus on how you feel. How you feel is the most important. If you're feeling amazing, then you're doing a good job. So my last things that I want to call you to action. I want you to try to do a body recomposition challenge. I want you to apply for my free coaching giveaway, because that's exactly what I will do with you, is a body recomp challenge. And it is over 9 weeks. No, 12 weeks. It's a 12 weeks thing, 12-week long thing. 12-week long body recomp challenge. I challenge you to do that either by yourself or apply for my free coaching giveaway, and maybe you'll be that free person that wins, and you get to do it absolutely for free. Okay, try that. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at performancebyk on Instagram. And last but not least, DM me a question. DM me a listener question. You guys are my listeners. I want to know your questions, and I will answer it on my next episode, in my next podcast episode. I promise. And last but not least, before I let you go, I love ghost stories. That's part of this podcast. So just to keep me entertained, I'm going to tell you a ghost story that I found on Reddit. They're always on Reddit. But this one is real experiences that I've had while working as a nurse. And this is a couple of different stories all looped together that are small short stories, but all looped together. So I think it's really fascinating, and I'm going to read it because I love it. And so if you don't care for this, thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys learned something. And if you care for this, let's dive right in. In my mid-20s, I worked at a subacute rehab facility. Generally, these places exist to help those who are struggling after an accident, surgery, etc., regain their mobility and quality of life with the help of physical therapy and around-the-clock nursing care. I worked in the dementia unit, and these patients were long-term, and most ended up living out the rest of their days there. Although it was called the dementia unit, our patients were comprised of those suffering from permanent or long-term brain loss, brain-related conditions. These included dementia, Alzheimer's, comas, strokes, traumatic brain injuries, and brain tumors. And these are the experiences I had while working there. Number 1, a disembodied hand. I had just clocked in for the evening and received a report from the day shift nurse, and I was standing at the end of the hallway with my back against the wall reviewing the notes I had taken from the previous nurse. And while reading over my slip of paper, I felt what could be only described as a hand dragging its fingers horizontally across my abdomen. I jerked back and looked around, but I was completely alone. Creepy. Number 2, call light symphony. Although I do not have a particular story about call lights, it was a normal occurrence to have call lights in empty rooms triggered, even in rooms where the wires that were attached to a call button were unplugged from the wall. Some nights the nurses would be forced to respond to several phantom calls from empty rooms. That's creepy. Number 3, the empty room ghost. At the very end of one of our halls contained a habitually empty room. The heat/air conditioning unit was broken, so patients were never placed there. The nurses and aides would use that room for privacy during personal phone calls, to poop in peace, or do whatever else required some seclusion. Wink, wink. No, I don't think that's real. Anyway, one evening I headed into that room's bathroom to touch up my makeup and fix my hair. I left the bathroom door slightly ajar while going about my business. I was putting my hair up in a bun when the bathroom door slammed shut behind me. Mid-heart attack, I spun around and jerked the door back open. The room was empty. The time it would have taken a human to exit the room would have been longer than what it took me to open the bathroom door. I'd also like to note that there was no furniture in the room, nothing a human could have hid behind, and I'm convinced that it was not a living person who slammed the door. That's creepy. Number 4. One patient we had residing in a long-term unit was a middle-aged woman with severe Down syndrome. She was mostly nonverbal, save for a few words she would utter randomly. She was very sweet and always had a smile on her face. And it was my turn to help her eat dinner that night. It was my turn to help her eat dinner the night that this story takes place. She didn't have the motor skills to eat properly, so I spoon-fed her while we caught up on cartoons on her TV set. But this particular night, she acted completely out of character. I didn't notice at first because I was engrossed in the show we were watching. I failed to notice her attempts to get my attention, and she finally resorted to using grunts to call me away from the TV screen. When I did finally notice, she seemed overjoyed with something. Her mouth was stretched into a wide grin, and she was pointing at an empty corner in the back of her room. I could clearly see the corner, but nothing else. I looked back and forth between her and the corner, but couldn't understand what she was trying to communicate. She was pointing, giggling, and waving at apparently nothing in the corner. I tried asking her what she was trying to show me, simply yes and no questions. She could nod or shake her head to. Shake her head no. I'm going to say shake her head no. I became uneasy with her actions because I knew she was seeing something that I could not. After I finished up feeding her, I walked back out to the hallway and was immediately approached by a fellow nurse. My stomach sank and I felt queasy while she told me that the next door neighbor of the woman that I was just feeding had passed away during dinner time. Fascinating. Fascinating. Number 5, the window watcher. Not my story. This was told to me by a fellow nurse. My friend, let's call her Mary, not her real name, worked the night shift at the same rehab as I, but this story takes place years before I was hired there. Mary was close to one of her patients, and she went out of her way to make her feel special. The patient was an elderly woman with no living family and was chronically lonely. Let's call the patient Emily. When Mary bonded with Emily, it became a habit of Emily's to wait by her room's window, which faced the employee parking lot. So when she saw Mary walking up to the building, she could wave. This became a special occasion for Emily, and the two would wave to one another before and after Mary's shift while she traveled to and from the employee parking lot. Then Emily fell ill and was unable to get out of her bed for a while. Every time Mary pulled up for work, she would check to see if Emily was waiting by the window, and when she didn't see her, she would know walking in that Emily was still sick. This went on for weeks. Mary would pull into the parking lot, hoping to see her sweet patient pull up and out of bed and waiting patiently to wave to her. But then one day, Mary showed up at work and saw Emily standing at her window, peering out over the employee parking lot. Mary was thrilled and hopped out of her car and gave Emily a gleeful wave, but Emily stood motionless and did not react to Mary's exuberant greeting. Puzzled, Mary headed into the building, only to quickly find out that Emily passed away earlier that day. Hope you enjoyed these stories as much as I enjoy sharing them. Ooh. All right, that's pretty cool. I quite like the story of number 4, the patient with severe Down syndrome. I think it's so fascinating, especially nowadays, because I don't know if you've ever heard of the telepathy tapes, but the telepathy tapes are like something that explores telepathic communication amongst those who are nonverbal, and I just think it's so cool. And so like this just kind of like, this story shows me that like they're on another plane and they're able to see things that we cannot, and I just think that's so cool. They are so much more able and capable than us, and I love that. But these are some pretty cool stories. I love hearing those little mini stories. I think they're so creepy. I would hate to have a door slammed on me. I think that would be the scariest thing. But what do you guys think? Are you as freaked out as I am? Because I'm really not that freaked out, but I'm just more intrigued than anything. So again, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Comment on this on YouTube. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions or if you have anything to say, or even stories of your own, let me know. I'll read them on here. Pinky promise. But thank you for watching, for listening, for whatever you did. I appreciate you. And I will see you guys in the next episode.